You're listening to A Strange Arrangement.
This is Ain't Misbehavin' by Fats Waller.
No one to talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you, for you, for you, for you. I know for
This is a classic tune in the repertoire of jazz standards, meaning when young musicians are learning jazz, this is a song that many of them can expect to study. So listen to this arrangement of the tune. You've got the piano, of course you got Waller singing, and there's a trombone and a clarinet comes in later on. A bass is keeping the tempo, and a drummer is playing brushes underneath. That's a lot of different parts. If you're just one person, you can't play all those parts at once. If you wanted, you could boil it down to just piano, like Waller does in the beginning of the tune. But even there, he's using all 10 fingers to play multiple parts, mimicking the lines of multiple instruments. So here's a challenge. What if you're only able to play 4 notes at a time? Like on a vibraphone. I know, I've brought up the vibraphone before, but what can I say? I'm biased. I just think it's a beautiful instrument with a great sound, one that often gets forgotten. And with the beautiful sound of a vibraphone comes unique challenges, which makes it extra special when you hear a really talented vibes player. A player like Nathan Dufresne. Nathan is a percussion performer and educator from Columbia, Maryland. This is him playing his original work called Dance of the Day. I'm always excited to talk to percussionists about percussion, and when I came across Nathan's instructional videos, I couldn't help but be drawn in. He has a natural gift for explaining complicated concepts very plainly and clearly, and I knew he would be a great guest to talk about the vibraphone. Plus, he plays it way better than I do. Anyway, this is Nathan Dufresne on A Strange Arrangement.
Thanks for having me on. I'm Nathan Dufresne, a percussion performer with the Columbia Orchestra, as well as a composer, educator, amateur volleyball player, and jigsaw puzzle enthusiast. Musically, I'm fairly specialized towards mallet percussion playing, and I'm probably best known for running a TikTok account called Dufresne_percussion, where I make semi-educational videos about mallet instruments. I was invited to talk about writing and arranging for the vibraphone, which is a surprisingly tricky instrument to write for. I like to say that percussion is a black hole of knowledge. I've been studying it for over a decade, and I'm still regularly learning new things about how it all works. So for songwriters who haven't studied percussion at all, it can be an intimidating instrument class to write for. So I'm glad you've given me the chance to talk about vibraphone music. For this episode, I've put together a solo vibraphone arrangement of the classic Fats Waller tune, Ain't Misbehavin'. For the completely uninitiated, a basic description of the vibraphone is that it's a large mallet percussion instrument with metal bars that are laid out in the same arrangement as a piano, which is why it's sometimes called keyboard percussion. Despite its physical size, it's only got 3 octaves of range, from F3 to F6, and there's a pedal-operated damper that allows the notes to ring out and be muffled. It's very similar to the pedal on a piano, really. Vibraphone players can only hold 4 mallets, 2 in each hand, which is sometimes a tricky limitation to work around, but it still allows for lots of freedom in how we play. Getting into Ain't Misbehavin', the first thing I want to point out is that most of my playing, and especially all of my chordal playing, is on the low end of the instrument's register. This is a pretty common practice because the vibraphone is a very trebly instrument, so we play chords lower down to get more of that warmth. Melodies will sound nice in pretty much the full range of the vibraphone though, so this practice usually only applies to comping. In the B section of the tune, I think I show this off pretty well, where the chords are played at the bottom of the instrument, and then I jump up to the very top to play the melody. The transition from the B section back into the final A section is the highest I ever play an accompanying part in this arrangement, and it kind of feels like the bottom drops out from under the melody. It creates a really nice effect in context, I think it sounds wonderful, but it's something to be mindful of. Another unique challenge to writing for the vibraphone is that you're limited to 4 voices. With the sustain pedal and mallet muffling, you can work around this, but the player will only have 4 mallets to work with, so that's a restriction to keep in mind. Some nice examples of ways I work around the 4-mallet problem are in measures 6 through 8, or the lyrics,
Saving my love for you.
where I play the melody first, then play chords underneath it in a sort of jazzy rhythm, and it comes out sounding pretty natural, I think. Since the player has 2 mallets in each hand, they can only stretch so wide. Octaves are fine, but anything past a ninth is really pushing it in terms of how wide of an interval you can get in one hand. I specifically arranged measures 21 and 22, or the line, "Your kisses are worth waiting for,"
Your kisses are worth waiting for.
to show how this can work. I've got a 5th between my bottom 2 mallets, and a 6th between my upper 2. But there's a 10th between my inner left and inner right mallet. That super wide interval only works because the 2 notes aren't being played on the same hand. It's kind of an edge case, but if you're writing for 4-mallet vibraphone, it's something to be aware of so you don't accidentally write something that's physically unplayable. Most of my experience is with writing for vibraphone as a solo instrument, but it does see a lot of use in ensemble settings. It's most used as a jazz instrument in smaller ensembles, filling a similar role to a guitar or a piano as an instrument that can both comp and play melodies. If you're looking to hear some excellent examples of this in action, some good names to look up are Gary Burton, Lem Winchester, Tim Collins, and Cal Jader. That list is nowhere near exhaustive, though. The vibraphone sees a bit of use in the orchestral world too, but not quite as often. The main reason for this is that the instrument wasn't invented until around the 1910s, so it simply hasn't existed for most of musical history. Because the vibraphone hit the scene so recently, it can often fly under the radar as a musical option, even to contemporary composers. In the Columbia Orchestra, our director Jason Love makes it a point to program one contemporary piece in every classical concert, so we've gotten to dig into some fun vibes repertoire. For some examples of how the vibraphone is used in an orchestra, 2 pieces that are worth looking up are Gabriel Ortiz's Anthropolis and Anna Klein's Dance. The one thing I'll say about writing for the vibraphone in an ensemble is to be mindful of the volume. The vibraphone is a naturally quiet instrument, so if you write a part for them in a loud ensemble like a jazz big band, they're liable to get drowned out. This is true for the marimba too, by the way. Players can compensate for this by using harder mallets, but that can only get them so far. I'm not saying to never write for vibes or marimba in loud ensembles, it's just something to be aware of. That's really all I got. The vibraphone is a cool instrument and I love talking about it, so thanks for having me on. It's been great.
And now, here's the whole arrangement. A big thanks to Nathan Dufresne for today's arrangement. You can find him on TikTok at Dufresne_percussion and also on his YouTube channel, Nathan Dufresne Percussion. A Strange Arrangement was produced by me, Rob McCarthy. I edit and mix the show, and I wrote our theme music. Our artwork was done by Daniel Joel Newman, and you can find more of his work at danieljoelnewman.com. Special thanks to Elizabeth Stahl for notes and for that voice that you hear at the beginning of the show. And be sure to check out our website, asamusicpodcast.com, for sheet music, artist bios, and ways that you can get in touch with us.